Good morning or evening. My name is William Sandoval, and I will be covering the famous Mesoamerican sport and ritual known as Ullamaliztli. Do forgive me if I do say it wrong, is the best way I can be able to say it. So, let's begin. To begin with a brief explanation of what Ullamaliztli is, as mentioned, it is a very famous Mesoamerican ball game that was performed all across Mexico among the many civilizations. It was What is known is that they used a 9-pound heavy rubber ball, and it was pure rubber, so it had no hollow inside compared to either our soccer balls or basketballs of today. So this was a heavy, hard-hitting ball as seen in the image. To the Aztecs, Uranisi had spiritual meaning to their religion, that there would be times that a ball game would be sacred to them. So when it ever came to the Aztecs building up a shrine or a new temple anywhere out somewhere in their location, they would immediately build a ball court right next to it, given its importance and popularity to the Aztec people. Now, the origins of Ulamilisi originated from the Olmecs, as there is evidence and findings of rubber balls in old courts on Olmec sites. The Aztecs even noted that Ullamaliztli even came from the Olmecs, as they have called them the rubber people. It has even been suggested that Ullamaliztli was able to spread throughout Mesoamerica through Olmec trade routes, and during these trades there were other native people that would also be exchanging of cultures or activities among themselves. This would lead to both the Mayans and the Aztecs to gain interest and pick up Ullamaliztli and give it their own cultural spin on the ball game. As the story goes, when it comes to Ulamaisi, is that it is about two hero twins or brothers that were facing challenges against the underworld gods to save their deceased father and bring him back to life, and their uncle as well. But this is the Mayans' version. The Aztecs do pick up a little bit of it, but they use see Ulamaisi as a sacred battle between the sun and the moon stars as it's supposed to represent in the court itself, given that the ball goes back and forth between each side to represent the day and night cycle. Now, when it comes to performing Yamadisi, it is fairly simple by the rules of how the Aztecs played it. The players could not touch the ball with their hands or feet. The ball could be touched anywhere else on their body, but it was commonly known for the players to use their hips to keep the ball in motion. And speaking of keeping the ball in motion of the game, was to keep the ball moving. That was if the ball stopped moving or touched the ground at any point, would be a point would be earned to the opposing team. There were also end zones on each side of the court that the team must keep the ball away from. If the ball made it to their end zone, the other team would score a point. There were also rings on either side of the walls in the middle of the alleyway. If a ball was somehow to manage to get through one of these rings, then that team would either earn a point or win the entire game just by getting the ball through that ring, given how much of a rare chance and the size of that ring, making it difficult for the ball to go through. So if it ever did go through, that was such a rare occurrence that some would believe that that is an entire game changer. And outside the court, there would be spectators that would come and gather around to watch from ranging from the nobles to the commoners, as they would be entertained by the ball game itself, as the Aztec leaders would encourage this kind of gathering. It would also be known that there was also gambling among the people as well. These bets would be either be used by their currency that they would have, or they would actually use physical items or their own personal possessions to put up for gambling as a wager. Sometimes they would even use their own members of family, such as their wives or sons, as betting devices to wager up in either favor of their choosing, Or if they were a landowner, they could put their entire land up for gambling. They would even bet their own freedom and put themselves into risk of slavery or to get out of slavery over betting on a Ullamaliztli game. Of course, when there is a ball game that represents life and death, there's going to be death physically involved. In Aztec fashion, being a sacrifice will be the greatest honor to the people that lost the game. It would it would even be known that although sacrificing was a part of Ullamaliztli, it wasn't always the case, as normal games or common games would just have the end result be the team just lost. If it was a ceremony involved, or if they used prisoners of war in the ball game to go against each other, then losing would end up being a sacrifice to the entire losing team, and maybe unconfirmed also the coach as well to that losing team. And of course, as mentioned, to the people that betted their freedom could immediately be thrown into slavery because of their poor betting of when they either lost of whatever they wagered. If they wagered their freedom, it would be a dreadful idea to experience losing your freedom entirely based on a ball game. And speaking of dread, the conquistadors have arrived and started conquering and wanting to learn about the Aztec Empire and the culture behind it. The conquistadors, when they came across Ullamaliztli, they took an interest into the ball game as they found the ball to be interesting given the buoyancy the ball had. They were even amazed by the performance of the athletes that would play this game. But of course, when they found out that when Ullamaliztli had religious tie-ins to the Aztec gods and were found human sacrifices to be absolutely disgusting in their eyes, they tried to erase Ullamaliztli and forbade people to ever practice in any shape, way, or form. They also tried damaging the course themselves and make them unusable, or in general, just trying to erase the Aztec culture or the idea of its people, never participate in any Aztec religion practices, as this was their attempt to Christianize the Aztecs. However, despite the best efforts of the conquistadors, the Aztec culture would remain, some aspects of the Aztec culture would remain. Uamalici is being one of them that survived to this day and is experiencing a revival in some communities across Mexico, and is being played in three different ways, while the ball being lighter or heavier, or just play the traditional way by the hip, and even wearing traditional clothing, or in some cases just wearing a simple loincloth, and that's pretty much just the attire itself, as they would try to play Ulamilisi the old way. Even though Ulamilisi is not being played on the old Aztec gods anymore, it is seen as honoring a Mexican heritage that all of Mexico once shared of a simple ball game, as this was Mesoamerica's favorite pastime to perform and to be either involved or to be able to spectate. And these are my sources of where I was able to get this information. I just want to thank everybody for y'all's time and hope you all have a great day.